Iran has responded to the United States' direct involvement in the Iran-Israel conflict by targeting its military assets in the Middle East. On Monday, Ali Akbar Velayati, an advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, announced that bases used by U.S. forces in the region or elsewhere could be attacked in retaliation for U.S. attacks on Iran's underground nuclear sites the previous day. Later that evening, explosions were heard over Qatar's capital, Doha, as Iran attacked Al Udeid Air Base, the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. Here's everything you need to know about Al Udeid. What is Al Udeid? Gas-rich Qatar, which lies 190 kilometers, 120 miles, south of Iran across the Gulf, is home to the U.S.'s largest military base in the region, Al Udeid. The 24-hectare, 60-acre base in the desert outside the capital Doha was set up in 1996 and is the forward headquarters for U.S. Central Command, which directs U.S. military operations in a huge swathe of territory stretching from Egypt in the west to Kazakhstan in the east. It houses the Qatar Emiri Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, the United Kingdom's Royal Air Force, and other foreign forces. It houses around 10,000 troops. Earlier this year, The Hill, a Washington, D.C.-based newspaper, reported that Al Udeid's long, well-maintained runways enable rapid deployment, making it a critical component of U.S. force projection. The Hill also reported that Qatar's investment in Al Udeid has kept it at the forefront of military readiness while saving U.S. taxpayers billions of dollars. Over the years, it said, Qatar had spent more than $8 billion upgrading infrastructure. The base has played a central role in air campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan, and in humanitarian missions, including the 2021 evacuation of Kabul. Why is it in the news? On Monday, Qatar's foreign ministry announced it had temporarily closed its airspace amid threats of Iranian retaliation. The competent authorities announced the temporary suspension of air traffic in the country's airspace as part of a set of precautionary measures taken based on developments in the region, the ministry said. The closure came several hours after the U.S. and U.K. embassies urged their citizens in Qatar to shelter in place out of what it said was an abundance of caution. Later, news agency Reuters cited a Western diplomat as saying there had been a credible Iranian threat against Al Udeid since noon on Monday. That evening, Qatar's defense minister, cited by Al Jazeera, said the country's air defenses had intercepted missiles directed at Al Udeid. Was Al Udeid prepared for the attack? Before targeting Iran's nuclear sites, it appears that the U.S. started taking precautionary measures. As U.S. President Donald Trump mulled direct involvement in the Iran-Israel conflict, news agency AFP reported that dozens of U.S. military aircraft were no longer on the tarmac at the airbase, basing its assessment on satellite images published by Planet Labs PBC. Nearly 40 military aircraft, including transport planes like the Hercules C-130 and reconnaissance aircraft, were parked on the tarmac at the base, the regional headquarters of the Pentagon's Central Command, on June 5. But in an image taken on June 19, only 3 aircraft were visible. One U.S. official who spoke to Reuters said aircraft that were not in hardened shelters had been moved from Al Udeid base. Additionally, he said U.S. Navy vessels had been moved from a port in Bahrain, where the U.S. military's Fifth Fleet is located. It is not an uncommon practice, the official said. Force protection is the priority. Was Al Udeid involved in U.S. attacks on nuclear sites? No. Prior to the U.S. attack on nuclear sites on Sunday, it was reported that B-2 bombers were heading to Guam, a ruse, as it turned out. As all eyes looked west, 7 B-2 stealth bombers took off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri in the U.S. at 0:01 Eastern Daylight Time, 4:01 Greenwich Mean Time, according to the Pentagon. The top-secret flights flew straight over the Atlantic to Iran. None of the U.S. bases in the Middle East were deployed in the U.S. offensive on Iran. How has Qatar responded to the attack on Al Udeid? Qatar condemned the attack on the airbase, calling it a flagrant violation of its sovereignty. We express the state of Qatar's strong condemnation of the attack on Al Udeid Air Base by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and consider it a flagrant violation of the state of Qatar's sovereignty in airspace, as well as of international law, Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid al-Ansari said in a statement. Iran and Qatar enjoy fraternal diplomatic relations. Qatar has condemned the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites.